Here's another useless piece of Minecraft trivia. Did you know that villagers have a mildly large forehead? Now look, I'm not making fun of them, I swear. But Steve, Alex, and all the other player models have 4 pixels of head space. But on the other hand, a villager's texture has 5 pixels. And what are they doing with all that extra brain power? Well, the world may never know. But in this case, we're stuffing that 5 head with even more useless Minecraft trivia. Such as, you might never think about it, but breathing's actually pretty useless. At least it would be for Steve. And hidden in Minecraft sound files is a play your breath sound. And if we actually use the /play sound command, we could actually hear what Mojang wants Steve's breath to sound like. Get a listen to this. Blazes, sniffers, wardens, they all have their own breathing noises, so why can't the players have theirs? I mean, it would get a little creepy. Imagine the sound playing every time the player breaks a block. And now I'm sure it's only a matter of time before Jack Black makes this noise everywhere in theaters worldwide. Do you wish there were vertical slabs in Minecraft? Well, here's the next best thing. According to Mojang, vertical slabs are never coming to Minecraft. But then explain this. See, we're able to make this weird shape with just stairs and slabs. And then what's interesting is that if you look at it from the right angle, it sort of gives the impression that we're using vertical slabs. Also resulting in this very strange looking flower thing. And while I'm not sure what you could ever use this for, or if it's even applicable in any other Minecraft build, well, then it would become useful, wouldn't it? And we can't have that in this video. Minecraft has plenty of caves to explore, but sometimes the deepest depths lie right before your very eyes. So if you open up the creative menu and scroll all the way down, right to the bottom at the blocks tab, the very last item you'll find is the waxed oxidized copper bulb. So share this information with your friends. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. We've talked about the size of the villager's head, but I'd be remiss if we left out the goat. No, not the actual goat, the other one. See, when a pufferfish expands, it grows from 0.35 blocks squared to 0.7 blocks squared, doubling in size to give it a total volume of 0.49 blocks. This makes a fully puffed pufferfish about half a block in size. And what can we do with this information? Not much, but it does get us the chance to think about what a pufferfish slab would look like. Just imagine poisoning and pricking your feet with every step. That's a free idea for you, Mojang. Get on it. Imagine soaring from tree to tree, suspended by a thin rope with wind in your hair, passing a wild world beneath you. Apparently, it's a shared fantasy for many, as this command block zipline animation by Shrimpy Seagull on Reddit has become the most popular r/Minecraft post of all time. And might I say, deservedly so. It has a deeply intricate assembly sequence with curated camera angles, detailed sound bites, and all this earned them a deserved 140,000 upvotes and a spot in Minecraft's history books. And while we all know that the children yearn for the mines, the Minecraft Redditors seem to yearn for the zip lines. Steampunk, steampunk, steampunk. If you're a Minecraft builder, you've probably heard that word more times than you can count, and I can count like a lot. But after all this time, I might have found the origin. Found in the r/gaming subreddit is a Minecraft build by user Deltagon. It showcases a massive steampunk city built into the legs of a towering bridge. And this impressive Minecraft build sports 130,000 upvotes to this day. And it's the highest rated Minecraft build on Reddit of all time. But it's too bad we can't do more with that information, other than build more steampunk. Have you ever played Herobrine's Mansion? It and custom maps like it are a significant part of Minecraft's history. I mean, after all, we wouldn't have things like Hypixel or the Bedrock Marketplace without them. But what's the most downloaded adventure map of all time? Well, on Planet Minecraft, it's The Dropper by Bigry. It was published in 2012, and it was such a hit that it also spawned a whole new genre of custom maps called droppers, where the objective is to fall several dozen blocks without hitting anything on the way down. And why is it so popular? Well, the map taps into the player's primal urge to avoid being splattered like a poorly cracked egg. And at that point, it's over easy to see why this is the most popular map, and that's no joke. One of the best things about a creative game like Minecraft is having total control over the player's skin, where at any given point we can easily download a skin template and change it to whatever we want. I mean, there aren't a lot of games that let you just become anything that you might think up in MS Paint. But what you might not know is that the third most downloaded Planet Minecraft skin of all time is Batman. And come on, who wouldn't want to be a billionaire superhero who has both their parents? Oh, wait. What are lily pads actually pointing to? Other Minecraft plants like the sunflower will always point eastward, making them a decently useful tool for navigation. So why do the lily pads point the way that they do? Well, the direction's based on location, meaning a lily pad's orientation is forever predetermined. Yeah, no matter what direction you're facing or how many times you replace the block, it'll always face the same way. And does this direction mean anything? Do chains of lily pads secretly spell out a secret code or point to a secret stash of diamonds? Well, no. I mean, not unless you're simply Sark. Don't you hate it when a would-be symmetrical build is just slightly off? Imagine if the Pillager Outpost, a build that's been in Minecraft since April of 2019, had 2 random blocks missing from a single corner. I mean, that would just be crazy. Flat out insane. Unfortunately, you don't have to imagine it, it's real. Yeah, load up a world in any version after 1.14 and do a /locate command to find a Pillager Outpost. And just look at it. Look at what we've got to deal with. It's even recorded on several pages of Minecraft's official bug tracker. And I've been cursed with this useless fact, and now so do you. Sorry if you can't unsee it. I hate to break it to you, but Minecraft's ripping you off. Well, sort of. Let me explain. See, every stair recipe requires 6 blocks to craft 4 stairs. That means you're spending 1.5 blocks to make a single block of a stair. That is despite the stair blocks being a fraction of a full block themselves. So for every 1.5 blocks that we spend, we're actually only getting about half that, or 0.75 blocks in volume. And that means that every time that we're making ourselves some stairs, we're wasting half the materials just to get there. Which would be a big problem if the trapdoor recipe wasn't so much worse. And here, using 6 blocks to only get 2 trapdoors, which are just a fraction of the block size, that's pitiful. And the stone cutter doesn't make that one any better. Here's a neat trick. If you're in Bedrock Edition, you can grab yourself a shulker box and then find a nice cozy cave wall and place your shulker right in front of you. Then with the lid facing towards your body, you can open it up very carefully. That shulker lid will push you inside of the cave wall. And if you happen to try this out in a cave wall that doesn't happen to be 1 block thick, I hope you enjoy the inside of it. There's only so many useful things that you can do before you suffocate to death. Mojang are trying to hide something from you, and it's inside of one of Minecraft's oldest features, the redstone repeater. Now, the repeater's usual function is to extend a redstone signal and create delay. It's a pretty basic redstone component, and it's useful in almost any machine. However, what if I told you the repeater had a secret? Practically useless secret. See, repeaters can be locked, and by powering a repeater from the side, it locks its current state until it's unlocked. And a locked repeater without will be unable to gain it back. And unless you're planning on doing computational redstone, there's really no use for locking a repeater. It's not like it's gonna stop anyone from stealing it. Making technical redstone farms is one of the best ways to spend your time in Minecraft. With a little resource input here and a little time input there, you can get a steady flow of infinitely generating resources. But what if I told you that you can make machines for no material benefit whatsoever? Like here, by assembling a few dispensers and observers, you can turn a regular old smoker block into one that produces real smoke. And so, anytime that it's cooking, the campfire underneath the smoker will automatically ignite, creating a nice indicator for when it finishes. And now it's high time for someone to make a blast furnace that actually blasts off. Behold, my cherry blossom wooden pickaxe. And also behold, my crimson wooden pickaxe. Now, the more astute of you might have noticed that these are exactly the same tools. Yeah, despite there being 10 different colored wood types, Minecraft only has a single wooden tool texture, brown. And imagine if we did have different colorful tools, depending on the wood type that you use to craft them. That would actually make you feel anytime that you're getting a different spawn, creating even more detailed worlds for storytelling. And I also just really want to have a red pickaxe. The default icon for a server's entry in the Minecraft menu is this, pack.png. It's an iconic bit of Minecraft history. Was it built specifically for the picture? Did Mojang just stroll along until they found a nice looking hill? Well, it's probably the latter, but some crazy people of the community actually managed to find it. Using complex algorithms, they were able to find the exact Minecraft seed where the pack.png picture was taken. It took thousands of people 8 months of their time and math. And by sacrificing all that by parsing trillions of possible Minecraft seeds, people are now able to visit their seed themselves in beta 1.7.3. Man, if you want to try it for yourself, it's 325-784-038-850-495-3787. Go on and check it out. Once a year, it seems like Minecraft developers are let out to pasture, free to code and design any Minecraft feature that they please in the wilds of Sweden. And we all call this yearly event April Fools. Now, the first April Fool's Minecraft update has actually resulted in real features that were added into the main game. Well, not the very first April Fool's event, since that was just a gimmick to get people to go to the website, but the one inside of the game had features like stained and tinted glass that first appeared in Minecraft 2.0. So while many features are jokes, it allows the developers the freedom to explore ideas that normally they wouldn't get the chance to. And I'm still crossing my fingers that the ethos slab eventually becomes real. A TNT half slab that you light off and it lets anvils on top of your head. Although there's typically been a vague release pattern for the Minecraft updates, there were 2 that came out in a noticeably interesting way. That being that Minecraft 1.19 was released on June 7th of 2022, while Minecraft 1.20 was released on June 7th of 2023. And for the first time ever, 2 major updates in a row released on the same date exactly a year apart. And was this pattern ever repeated? So far, no. I mean, Minecraft 1.21 came out on June 13th of this year, and that kind of discrepancy can't be explained away by the leap year. So will it ever repeat again? Probably not. During the ancient times, back in 2009, before color was ever invented, Minecraft was still in its in-dev phase of development. There were no wardens, no pillagers, diamonds even were just a new thing after being renamed from emeralds. Minecraft was a completely different world, and during the in-dev 0.31, it was there that a feature was implemented changing Minecraft forever: item dropping. Back then, Notch added the ability for players to drop items onto the ground. And imagine if we couldn't toss all of our garbage stuff into lava, or if we weren't able to flood our friends' inventory with useless junk like light gray stained glass paints. It's a world I don't want to live in, that's for sure. I love it when games have unique fantasy elements, and I'm talking about the magical fantasy that can't be found anywhere else. In Minecraft, it's things like the creeper, the warden, but most people don't know there's actually a secret fourth dimension in Minecraft. But if you open up your menu and navigate to the languages screen, you can try selecting this strange phrase, UK English. It changes words like cookies to biscuits, baked potatoes to jacket potatoes, and there's a whole new world of possibilities. It makes you wonder what other kind of zany words Mojang will make up to add to this wonderful game. Alright, quick, without looking, which key on your keyboard is the inventory key binded to? Well, has it always been that way? Because currently the default keybind to open your inventory is E, but that's obviously ridiculous, right? Does the E stand for inventory? It's insane. And it wasn't until 1.14 that it changed from I to E. And now I know what you're saying, most sandbox games use E for its inventory key, and it's better to maintain its conventions. And you might also be saying that it's closer to the WAS and D movement keys, so it's far more comfortable to use. But none of this matters since everyone knows the best way to open up your inventory is with the tab key. Minecraft's end poem is an iconic ending to an iconic game. It wraps up an infinite sandbox with a surreal retrospective on what it means to make things in a world like Minecraft. And do you know how long it is? Well, the poem combined with Minecraft's credits scene goes on for an excruciating duration of 27 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, of course, this useless fact will not help you in any way. But what's so exceptionally useless about this fact is that Minecraft's 27-minute and 15-second credits doesn't even come close to breaking a world record. No, the longest end credits scene in a video game goes to Mighty Number 9 at a whopping 3 hours and 47 minutes and 50 seconds of playtime. And maybe we can get Julian Goff to write another 3.5 hours of scrolling text, which would still be more worthwhile going through than playing any of Mighty Number 9. If your friends always wanted to live at sea, then here's a way to bring the sea to them, or at least part of it. Since folks, boats are entities, which means that if we want to, we could place down a whole bunch of these and cover your friend's entire house in boats. I mean, let's be honest, it's not exactly an expensive prank, especially if you got yourself a tree farm, or even just a good axe and a taiga tree. And while it's annoying that these can't stack in your inventory, placing them down is a really easy setup. And then when your friend wants to get rid of it, they're also easy to clean up. And they'll probably want to as well, considering that many entities could get a little laggy. And really that's the most destructive part of this prank, the lag. And the only thing that I would caution against so that you don't get anything too mean would be making sure that none of the boats get too close to your friend's animal pen. While they're easy to break by themselves, when you have to look at the proper hitboxes to make sure that you're not killing your pigs and sheep, then it gets annoying. What do you call this Minecraft mob? Nowadays, I think we'd all agree it's a chicken, but that wasn't always the case. And there used to be a heated debate during the beta that this mob was a duck, not a chicken. I mean, even Notch referred to the mob as the chicken, duck, whatevers. So maybe that history is why Mojang decided that ducks will never be added to Minecraft. Though if you look at these community-made examples, it's clear that there is a lot more to be done here than just recolorations of the chickens. But instead, they could swim around in the new 1.19 swamps and rivers. Eating a pufferfish isn't a great idea. Not only is the poison gonna leave you with a damaged life bar, but the nausea isn't that fun either. But that latter effect has actually gotten some changes. Instead of giving off nausea 2, pufferfish only give off nausea 1 when consumed in 1.16.2. That doesn't make any difference, so it's just a pointless change. Plains biomes make for great locations for building. Just there you get lush grass, flat surfaces, and an overall nice atmosphere for your base. But there is one problem point you're sure to notice. Say you're placing the blocks as a foundation for your new house, laying them out in a row, only to have your flow interrupted by a measly flower. Since tulips, unlike the neighboring grass, have their own persistent hitbox, meaning we can't just place our blocks as we please. Which means most of the time we see these, they're just going to be a roadblock to your building flow. Did you know pigs could drop brown mushrooms? Sure enough, back in the Java Edition survival test, there was a time where these mobs only dropped brown mushrooms on death. But obviously, this was changed to a pork chop when that item got added in. Oh, it makes me wonder, if you eat a mushroom stew made out of pig shrooms, is that still vegetarian? I don't know. This is the rarest potion in Minecraft. So rare that you can't even brew it up. There's no recipe that exists for this thing. But if you were to type in this give command to give yourself a potion that has no NBT data, then what you'll get in your inventory is a potion that's completely blank. But you can also get tipped arrows of the same variant. So okay, what do? Well, when you drink the uncraftable potion and find out, unfortunately, not much. I don't know what you expected. It literally has nothing special about it. You know how a chicken can keep running with its head cut off? Well, the same does happen in Minecraft. Kind of. See, if you were to kill a chicken where it falls off a cliff, its corpse will fall slower than any other. And additionally, it'll still flap its wings after dying. This is my friend's house, and this is my house. Notice any similarities? Since a great prank is to go and copy your friend's base verbatim block for block and place it right next to theirs. And after all, I've heard that taking inspiration's a great thing, so I stop at just taking inspiration and take their whole base as well. And if you're able to install a mod that lets you preview a schematic so that you can get it just right, then that can really add to the detail of getting this prank done right. If you want to, you can even put up a wall of glass in between and have it look like the mirror image. I think that would be pretty funny too. If you've played around with name tags, you're probably well aware of the different Easter eggs certain names have. And while people will try to get you to believe that the Jeb name tag does more than it does, there is more that we could do using the Dinnerbone or Grum tag. See, the game is coded in such a way where even players will turn upside down when given these names, which means Dinnerbone's account is also shown to be upside down. But in Bedrock, we can experience that ourselves. If not signed in, change your name to Dinnerbone or Grum, and you'll be upside down just the same as they are. While this blue ice block doesn't look that expensive, let's put it in perspective. Since to get one of these, you're gonna need 9 packed ice, and since a packed ice block is made out of 9 ice itself, what we're really seeing here is that one blue ice block is the equivalent of 81 ice blocks like so. And when you put that side by side in a comparison, it's quickly noticeable that you're gonna be spending a lot of ice just to get that quick highway. And frankly, if you're looking to spend the time to get that much blue ice to actually get up to those top speeds, you should really be building your highway like this with the gaps, because otherwise you're just wasting efficiency. Especially when you consider that both of these designs work the exact same. So Minecraft has its fair share of prickly blocks. Now when you're starting out, this makes sense, but when I got a full case of netherite armor on my body, I don't get why I'm still getting hit by thorns. Granted, I don't think the barrier here should be just as simple as wearing armor. For example, if I'm wearing a leather helmet, I should still get poked on the rest of my body. But if I've got diamonds on my chest, legs, and boots, I don't know why I'm getting hit as much. And it would make traveling through these forest biomes a whole lot less of a pain. If you watch closely, this squid's arms will start to move slower and slower. And why this happens is because, in Bedrock only, a squid's arms show how much oxygen it has left. So when 15 seconds pass and it's out of air in the tank, its arms will stop and it'll suffocate, which seems like a lot of effort to code for such a pointless mob. Sometimes the past is very different from how you remember it, but even factoring the Mandela effect, I swear that Minecraft 1.9 never looked like this when I played it. And unfortunately, now when you go to boot up Minecraft 1.9 in the standard Minecraft launcher, you'll instead be greeted to the sight of everything looking completely broken. The text in the chat will be off, textures look weird, parts of the world are just missing, but luckily when you play this version through other third-party launchers, those tend to fare a little better. Finding your way back out of a cave can be tough, and while leaving a path of torches is definitely possible, that's also burning through quite a bit of the coal that you're going down there to mine in the first place. So instead, silly as it may seem, we should actually bring down a snow golem. Now, hear me out. If you tie one of these to a lead, then we can drag it along and essentially create snow layers as a path to lead us right back out of the cave, which would be incredibly useful if you're mining so long that your pickaxe breaks down in the caves. Because while you can always dig up to get out of a cave, that's a lot tougher to do when you have nothing to dig with. And plus, the snow golem will also be able to throw off some snowballs and maybe keep some other mobs away from you down in the caves, giving you both a getaway and a ride or die. By having skeletons and zombies burn in the daylight, Mojang found an ingenious way to encourage players to explore during the day. But while that mechanic is a solid piece of game design, it does have a few odd quirks as well, such as how all of these blocks can't stop a skeleton from burning, but the cobweb does. Now, I get it, things like a chest are a transparent block, and they're coded as such, but a cobweb? That just doesn't make any sense. And if you ask me, if it lets light get through, then it should still apply to the sun rays as well. This house might look nice, but it's got a dirty secret. It's dirt. Dirt's the secret. And while it can be easy to fill in some of the gaps with a cheap block like dirt, all it takes is someone looking at the right angle to know that this house is built off of something pretty cheap, and that especially won't do you any favors if a creeper were to explode. So for that matter, Minecraft doesn't need insulation. I'd recommend against having this. Minecraft's FOV can go as low as FOV 30 and as high as Quake Pro, but that's not actually true, since if you were to go into the game's option text file and then tweak these values even more, and the closer that you set these FOV values down to 180 degrees, the weirder your camera gets, until eventually it's unplayable. And speaking as someone who already thought the game was unplayable on FOV 30, that's saying something. Now, crafting an anvil definitely has its use. I'm not gonna argue with that, but crafting 64 of them to make a railing, that's where you start to lose me. But sure enough, there are some people who like to be bougie and put together some of these anvils as decoration block. And to a degree, I get it. It does have a unique model that makes it great for certain details like so. But having to spend 31 iron ingots just to get one of these, that makes it expensive even if you got yourself an iron farm. And really, if you're at the point where you're considering building this anvil floor design in survival, you might as well just save yourself some time, throw all your iron on the floor, and then crush it with that very same anvil, since both will be about the same waste of your ingots. Iron golems can be a decent bit of help if you need it, and at the very least, they'll work the graveyard shift at your local village. So just round up the iron, set it up like this, and the job will be done. Or maybe not. You see, if the pumpkin isn't placed last, then the golem will not spawn even when it's in proper formation. And in fairness, this is likely a holdover from the older versions where you couldn't even place a pumpkin unsupported. So, as such, the code never accounted for the possibility. If we mess around with the config settings for the immersive portals mod, then we can change it so that the end portal that we find in the stronghold will actually show us a scaled view of what we're going to see on the other side. And you'll see as much when you put in all the Eyes of Ender, giving us basically a diorama of the end portal to look at. And it gets even more trippy when you jump in and then you seamlessly enter through the portal. At that point, what looked to be like we're jumping into a hologram actually turns out that we're falling directly into the end fight, which can easily throw off your head for scale. So, if I had the choice for fighting the Ender Dragon on this small display, I think I'd be able to beat it faster than most speedruns. One bed and you're done. Watch this fish closely, because in Bedrock Edition, if you put a fish inside of a moving water source like this, then if it stays in the same place idle long enough, its swimming animation will infinitely speed up, until, as you can see, we get some pretty wild results. But it's worth mentioning that no matter how much speed it builds up, as soon as the fish actually moves a block, then its animation goes back to normal. So if you're trying to build up speed for 12 hours, you might want to look somewhere else. This might look like a magic wand, but it's actually a sparkler. And the way that we get this is by mixing together chloride and magnesium with a stick in the Education Edition. And actually using different kinds of chloride could give you different colors, such as calcium chloride for an orange one, or tungsten chloride for a green one. And unfortunately, while these give off particles, they don't actually give off any light, meaning these are really more of a party trick than anything useful. With the new mangrove trapdoor, we're able to make a pretty easy illusion, since if we just place one of these onto the front of a dispenser and flip it up like so, then from the right angle, it looks as if the eyes are following you along the camera. And there you have it, just like that, we've got a little watchful robot to keep an eye on you. Or if you want that same illusion, but you want a different eye color, then by just placing a fence post behind the trapdoor, you get the same effect, making this pretty diverse in how it works. Minecraft's clouds don't get a lot of love, and by this point, many of us have turned them off in the settings. But part of that is because these exist so low within the world. And thankfully, along with the new height to our worlds, these now can float at a Y level of 192 instead of 128 like before. When you're killing a bunch of mobs for XP, it's easy to lose focus, which is a shame, because when you take the time to actually get a breather, then you might just notice that these experience orbs have recently changed their look. As of recent versions, these bubbles are now transparent, which doesn't make too much of a difference since we still pick them up the same way, but hey, now you know. Thinking of the right name for a pet can be tough work, so if you're really strapped for options, this might be a good fallback. All we'll need is a bit of ingenuity and a complete lack of remorse. See, if we were to take one of the name tags that we got from exploring and put it into an anvil, then all we gotta do is go into our settings, change our native language, and then rewrite the name of the name tag as, well, name tag. And then once we change our language back, you notice that we're finally able to name a name tag, and use it as a name tag for our new animal. So if you want to circumvent this one Mojang rule, I guess this is the way to do it. Though I might add, your pet might hate you for it. You're probably familiar with this command to turn off fire ticks so that fires don't generate anymore. And while that does work, back in the day it was a little wonky, since do fire tick would allow for lightning to still generate fires, meaning if you had enough time in a world, almost every single block would have a netherrack effect, not letting fire spread, but also not getting rid of it. Minecraft signs already aren't the easiest thing to read, especially when you have glasses like me, but we can make that so much worse with just the right color of dye. So for example, if your friend has white text on a dark background of a sign, then just by going through and changing it over to dark text on the darker background, it basically gets impossible to read. So unless they want to go deal with something like glow ink sacks, and let's be honest, no one wants to deal with glow squids, then they're basically stuck with this one. And with the ability to edit your friend's signs, you can also change that new darker text into a hidden message for them to see. And hidden's the right word for it, since when it's this hard to read, you really have to put this under a microscope before you even know what the prank was in the first place. Under certain circumstances, an iron golem will attack a villager. Now, clearly the villagers are a peaceful mob, but if they use their fireworks after a raid, that celebration might just damage a nearby golem. And if it does, the iron golem will get aggressive and even kill the villager that it's supposed to protect. The ability to glaze terracotta opens up a bunch of new patterns to use in your builds, and while some of those are fun, others can be a headache. For an example, if we look at the light gray glazed terracotta block like this, it seems fine, but when you align it like so, the middle design doesn't line up across the blocks, which shuts down some really interesting floor patterns before they could even get off the ground. And maybe there is someday we'll see these centerpieces line up with one another, but until then, I'd rather just use a different block. While beacons clearly have a lot of function as a, well, beacon, they do also give off a light source, which we can extrapolate to mean that you can use beacons exclusively as a light source inside your base. But why you would ever do this, it's beyond me, because each one of these blocks that you place down down tells the story that you killed a wither for each nether star inside, which is pretty cool, but as soon as you see a beacon chandelier like this, then it starts to feel excessive. And honestly, if you're gonna use a beacon for decoration, I'd much rather use it for colorful beacon beams, because at least then the beacon could be active instead of just passive like so. Making a shop on a server is a great way to make profit, but see, where most businesses go wrong is that they sell products that actually work, and that's how we're gonna increase our profit margin. Since by having a weapons, armor, or tool shop where the items are dispensed out to your friends, we can have it so that they have no idea that they're actually buying tools that are almost near broken, at least until it's too late. And to make that armor even better, give it cursive binding, and then they'll really be stuck with having to wear it right until its bitter end. But luckily for them, that's coming soon. And the best part is that they can't even salvage the item back in an anvil, since once it's on them, it's on them. We're gonna use just one ender pearl to get infinite amounts of ender pearls, and then 0 amounts of frames. By setting up a repeating command block, we can type in this execute command so that every ender pearl entity that enters the world is therefore summoning other ender pearl entities, which right now doesn't seem that bad. But as soon as you make the decision, or the mistake I should say, to throw out an ender pearl, we'll quickly have more than 16 of the things. Then after saying this, maybe it's for the best that endermen don't always drop ender pearls. Clearly they're a lot more powerful than we ever thought. Now, I've sung the praises of the cake ladder too many times to count, and while it does add a fair amount of speed with the right horse, is it practical? No, not at all. The amount of cake that you need to make for this thing should be illegal. It definitely feels like a crime laying it all out in the crafting table. And then to not only have your cake, but then eat it too, that makes this build more of a fantasy than anything. But it's a fantasy that I'll still happily use, in creative mode. With the help of downloading a mod, or by building an update suppression machine like this, we're able to glitch out the game in such a way to split up the 2-block tall door into just half of a door, which can get quickly confusing when you're flipping each one individually. But hey, we're not able to put trapdoors sideways, so the idea of doing this doesn't seem that bad to me. I mean, I would prefer a better texture than this, but if it was possible, great, I would go through with it. Weight in Minecraft is a funny thing. Obviously, it takes some serious muscles for Steve and Alex to carry around stacks and stacks of raw materials, but what's even weirder is comparing the strength of Minecraft's other inhabitants. Take the drip leaf plant for example. While it will bend in a few seconds to an item as light as a feather, a literal anvil can hold on top of it with no problem. And then, weirder still is that if we stand on top of that anvil, it doesn't bend. But just us by ourselves? Yeah, you get the picture. One of the best parts of the Caves and Cliffs update's first half is the addition of axolotls. I mean, they're certainly the cutest feature, that's no contest. But what these water wolves have in the ocean, they don't exactly match on land. And you'll see as much if you beach one. They move pretty slow. That is, until you tie one to a lead, and then it'll move surprisingly fast speeds. Why this happens, I've got no clue. It is pretty hilarious, so I'm fine with it not making sense. From this angle, my skin looks fine, but in actuality, we've flipped it around so that my textures for my skin are actually played on my back, which gives you a great way to mess with your friends. And to go one step further and keep up the facade, if you play in third-person mode with F5, then you can navigate while keeping your skin properly oriented. That is, until it's time for the big reveal and your friend thinks they're doing something behind your back, only for you to have been able to see the entire thing all along. Before the Minecraft pigs were added officially, they originally had a different face texture, with the only change being that their eyes were flipped so that they weren't as derpy as they are now. And while I get that this makes more logical sense, it also just seems way too professional for the pigs. Like, this is how I would expect a Minecraft pig to look if he was selling me door-to-door solar panels. I'm a lot more of a fan of the ones that we got in the game. These are some of the most confusing blocks I've ever seen in Minecraft. Like, what if instead of your sand falling down, it instead fell up? Yeah, I don't even know if you would call that falling. I thought the only things that fell upwards were Nepo babies. And that's not the only thing going the wrong direction, since now we're able to grow our cactus and sugarcane upside down. But when you see this symmetrical farm design, it's hard to say it doesn't look cool. And hey, it seems safer to have the cactus on the ceiling than down by the floor where I am. It'd be my preference too. This is what lava looks like nowadays, and this is what it looks like in 2012. It's pretty shocking, I know. And while there were a few textures that got changed in the updates following, it was in the 1.14 texture update that most of our textures got a huge rework when they were done by Japa, which makes some comparisons definitely hard to look at, and thankfully Netherrack looks like this instead of this mess. Even though Minecraft is a sandbox, that doesn't stop the game from having unspoken rules. And if you ask me, some of those are just bizarre. Take this ladder for example. Now if we make a pathland underneath the wall and then place a ladder, you can see it works just fine. Though if we place the ladder above the grass and then try to make it into a path block, it's a no-go. And why that order exists, I've got no clue, but at least now we've got the proper arbitrary way to pull this off. These gears used to be in vanilla Minecraft. See, in the Java Edition in-dev phase, there were these flat gears that could only be broken by letting water into them or exploding it. And if you tried to break them like a normal block, it would just break the block behind them. And maybe that's why this buggy feature never made it into the official game. Now, this sounds unintuitive, but you probably don't want to use bookshelves to build yourself a library, because for each one of those blocks, blocks, you're actually looking at 3 leather, 9 paper, and 6 planks per block, which is expensive enough when you just need 15 of them to get a level 30 enchantment. But when you start to consider building up your Library of Alexandria recreation, now you're looking at some serious problems. And honestly, I don't know if it's worth killing that many cows, causing deforestation, and getting rid of a lot of sugarcane just to be left with a texture that's this repetitive. But if you have the farms on hand, maybe you can make this in a sustainable way. And honestly, I'd rather just craft the books outside of the bookshelves so then they have a little bit more use for me. Maybe you've heard this before, but you can't sleep now, there's monsters nearby. But when you look around, you don't see any. Enter the monster under your bed. See, if you dig a 2-block hole underneath the bed, added a daylight sensor, and then place an armor stand on top, it'll be just the right height to see the eyes of the monster head peek through right here, which is a good way to startle anyone who walks into your guest bedroom. Now, the laws of gravity don't exactly apply in Minecraft. I mean, clearly. But what's stranger than that is when Minecraft isn't even consistent on its own terms. For instance, gravel falls when there's nothing beneath it, and similarly, a lantern can only be placed with something solid above or below it. So then why does this work? Sure, the gravel is supported by the lantern, but the lantern is supported by the gravel just the same, and if you break either one, the whole thing falls apart, giving us all perhaps the most literal definition of a symbiotic relationship. This is the deadliest rabbit in Minecraft, or at least it was the deadliest rabbit in Minecraft. But ever since 1.8, the killer bunny variant no longer has a chance of spawning, and the reason for this, according to Jeb, is that the joke's already been made to death, so it was then removed. Or should I say the spawning was then removed, because if you use the summon command, it is still possible to get. I just wouldn't recommend that you stand too close when you do. So zombies and zombie piglins like to break these turtle eggs. That's not the weird part. The weird part is that when they stomp on these eggs, the particles that it gives off are from the chicken egg texture, not the turtle egg, which is a bug for sure, but a bug that's also been unresolved. And since both the chicken and the egg came first, Mojang probably just thought they could use this texture and not have to worry about making a new one for the turtle egg. A little wax goes a long way. So if you manage to have any beeswax that you could use on your friend's copper blocks, then whether they're trying to let them oxidize or not, just going through and waxing a couple blocks here and there could be enough to make them think that they're going crazy, or it could also let you tuck in a hidden message if you want as well. And this one's probably the definition of a slow burn, since oxidizing copper already takes a long time, and with that wax, it's gonna take even longer. Which at that point, it might be good for you too. You get to basically forget about the prank, and then be surprised when you remember how badly you got them. Here's how to turn your pistons from this into this. And the secret behind this isn't doing something like McMakestein's mod, even though that is cool, but instead, by just using the set block command with different parts of the piston, we can separate the head from the body and then place fence post lining in the middle. And there you have it, a giant piston. And if you really wanted to, you could even make this into the sticky variant as well. Just don't expect it to retract anything. There's no off switch for this one. Minecraft held items haven't always made a lot of sense. Like, why is it when I hold these Nether Sprouts items, they're floating in my hand instead of, you know, holding in my hand? And here we're gonna make that example look basically normal. Since using this command that you see on screen, we're able to change the size of any held item that we have in our hand. So while we both might have a diamond sword, I think we all can agree that that's not a knife. Now that's a knife. And now the only thing you have to worry about is people thinking that you're compensating, which, next point. As we've talked in the past, Minecraft sprites don't always line up with the game's world. And a long-standing example of that lies with our classic helmets. See, in the iron, gold, and diamond variants, there's no sign of a nose piece in the sprite. But when you put it on, those pixels just appear. And to be clear, I don't think anyone is against the idea of having a nose piece on the helmets. But maybe take a page out of the Netherite's book and update the sprites. And hey, since spectral arrows got fixed, maybe there is some hope. Herobrine isn't just a Minecraft myth, he's a Minecraft icon. Dating back to a community-made story on 4chan, Herobrine supposedly leaves around spooky sand pyramids and long, pointless tunnels around your single-player world. And despite what some players try to get you to believe, he doesn't exist and never existed in Minecraft's code. But that doesn't mean that Notch didn't acknowledge it, since in fact, back in the day, Notch did say on Twitter that he planned to add Herobrine to the game soon. Though, this obviously never happened. And the most that we ever got, and likely will ever get, are these official changelogs saying things suggesting that Herobrine was finally removed, even if he wasn't there in the first place. With the World of Color update in 1.12, a lot of our dyed items changed color, and they weren't the only ones to do it, since the shulker boxes also got a whole new set of colors. And personally, I kinda like how some of the original colors look for the shulker boxes, but it's hard to say that the new ones aren't more true to the actual dye colors, so I get why the change was made. If you're really looking to take your items for a spin, then there's really nothing that matches up to a honey block roundabout. The way it works is that items are dispensed in the back and then pushed around in the honey blocks in circles by the pistons. While it really just amounts to a pretty show, I've got no problems with that. It is kind of mesmerizing to watch. And it's worth noting for the sake of being thorough that even if all the items don't get collected at the front, then they still get picked up in the back and then funneled into the system. that little tidbit isn't gonna make it any more practical, but it is worth noting because, hey, at least it's functional. So if you got a rumbly in your tumbly for all kinds of weird storage, then this is definitely the best you'll find in the entire 100-acre wood. Now, a netherite beacon is a huge flex, but when you crunch the numbers, you might want to reconsider that. Since to get all the materials necessary to pull off a full netherite beacon, you would need 5,904 netherite scraps, which sure enough means you're gonna have to find 5,904 ancient debris blocks, and I just can't account for that kind of luck. So if you're Wadzy and want to do this for a thumbnail, that's completely fine, but for a regular person like you and me, I don't think that's gonna cut it. But hey, at least it's more blast resistant than a regular beacon. That's gotta account for something, but not the amount of time that it would take to find 5,904 netherite scrap. With the help of the new mangrove planks, we can build something like this. I'm so sorry. But if you want to build this suspicious statue in your own world, all you need are some mangrove slabs, 2 doors, and a trapdoor to cover up the block for the center visor. Plus, if you partner this with the new sculk blocks, that will really make this look out of this world. In Java 1.20, Minecraft added in these special paintings that were originally found in the Bedrock game files. But to say that they added them in is really just a technicality. I mean, sure, they had a data pack that was official that could let you use these paintings, but they're still not obtainable through regular gameplay. Maybe that's for good reason, because as Phoenix SC shows off, these definitely get pretty close to being the 4 elements from Avatar. Who knows, maybe the original 3 paintings were all fine until the fire painting attacked. But what makes this even stranger is that now that we're getting new paintings in 1.21, these still aren't on the docket. Yeah, I don't know, maybe they want to forget about it too. I also didn't like the Avatar Netflix show. While everyone likes to talk about all the new stuff that we got with a new release, there's also plenty that's been removed. So I'm sorry to let you know that in 1.18, Mojang actually removed 34 biomes from the game. But rest assured, that's only because these sub-biomes only existed for the old generation to work. And nowadays with the new one, they're unnecessary. Now, a beacon's a tough block to get. Not only do you need to kill the wither, but you also need glass and obsidian, which are 2 blocks that you don't want to punch with your fist. But when you put them together into a beacon, then no matter if you're using a pickaxe or not, you're able to break that just the same, which always looked so weird to me. I would have thought that at least the obsidian would mean that we need a diamond pick. But no, we're able to break this any which way that we want. Though for me, the way that I want might still be with a pickaxe. It just looks safer. Of all the items in Minecraft, there's only one that has the word blocks in its name that isn't an actual block. And of course, that would be the music disc for the track, well, Blocks. But that's also why it sticks out like a sore thumb when you type in the word block into the creative menu. Obviously, one of these is not like the others. Even though magma cubes are made of, well, magma, they can swim in water just fine. And in fact, they're the only mob that you'll find in the nether that can swim normally. There's a lot of debates over whether birch logs are ugly, and while I don't want to weigh in on those, I will say that Snapshot 20W28A didn't do you any favors. Since back then, there was a very weird bug when it came to birch trees, where when you'd load up your world, the birch trees would spawn in a square formation in every birch forest, creating this really unnatural sight. And I get that Minecraft's a game made out of squares and cubes, but this might just be pushing it too far. If we were to set up one of our portals bigger than the other end of the entrance, then when we go through, we will be teleported to our other destination, except you'll get bigger every time. And so if we take this to its logical extreme, we can get incredibly huge until we're basically rivaling the giant zombie. Although we're able to do a lot more. I'm thankful for that. Except they have 100 points of health and we only have 20, so I think we still got kind of a raw deal here. If you look closely, you'll notice that the chest that's inside of the chest bow isn't the same chest as the one that's inside of the minecart, but rather the chest texture that shows in the chest bow is 12 by 12 pixels, while the one in the actual block is 14 by 14. But I guess that just goes to show that those 2 extra pixels weren't all that necessary, because I didn't even notice. Some changes might be hard to notice until you take that closer look. Like this change to the way that chunks render. Now, they work in something of a cylinder pattern instead of the square one from before. And hopefully, even if it is hard to notice, it should help make the game run that little bit smoother. Anyone who's ever come across a silverfish spawner knows that these suckers love to crawl inside of blocks. And while most of the time that's just a pain to deal with, strange as it may seem, we can actually use it for mining. Yeah, no joke. All you gotta do is anger one of them, and that'll cause the rest of them to break out of their blocks and join in. Meaning, essentially, we can dig a hole without a pickaxe. But in practice, it's just ridiculous. So even though it works, the cost to your sanity to pull this off might be too high to pay. There is no limit to the amount of bats that can hang from a single block, which sounds unimportant, but when you execute it like this, it becomes quickly noticeable, and it can make for a pretty serious prank to surprise your friends down in the caves. Though, since it's impossible to tie bats to a lead, I don't know how you'd get all of them together to do this without a spawn egg. It's physically possible to explode a block of obsidian. Now, obviously, you couldn't do this with regular TNT, no matter how many explode at once, but if you use this command to summon a prime piece of TNT with an explosion power of 72 or above, it'll be strong enough to destroy a piece of obsidian. And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video, so see if they're right and have a good one, alright?